Lit Gang, Spit It Out. Powered by Bitu, top one English speaking app.
Hi everyone, so welcome back to another episode of Tea Time with Lit Gang. So in today's video, there will be like another distance call, and our guest is from Canada. So this one is a really smart 18-year-old boy, and actually that I'm a little bit pressured right now because I have always considered myself not smart enough. So before getting into the main part, there will be like a lot of interesting topics that are going to be brought to the table. So if you want to discuss those kind of topics, please access Bitu Group Talk in order to get involved in those similar discussion. And now, without further ado, let's go. First of all, thank you so much for accepting my invitation for this episode of Tea Time with Lit Gang. So first of all, could you please introduce a little bit about yourself to all of the viewers of Lit Gang Official?
Hi Lit Gang, my name is Nam. I'm 18 years old and I'm currently a first year engineering student at the University of Toronto. Yes.
Okay, so how long have you been in Canada?
I've been in Canada since grade 11. So I did all of my schooling in Vietnam until grade 10. Then I came to Calgary, Alberta, which is a Midwestern province in Canada, to finish high school. And then after that, I graduated high school 6 months early. So I got out of it a little bit earlier, and then I spent time to work, which is the topic of today's discussion. Until my university starts. And now that I've got experience from, let's say, public school when I was in Vietnam, private school when I was in Vietnam, high school in Canada, work period, and university, I think I can have quite an unbiased and broad view of the topic that we are going to talk.
Okay.
So yes,
I think that you have a lot of experience. Even though I'm currently 23 years old, which means that I'm a lot older than you. But like the time and the experience that I've had is not as much as you. Okay, so back to our topic today is about the job opportunities for high schoolers. But before jumping straight into the topic, so could you please so why we want to discuss this topic? For example, like from my own perspective, when I was like a high school student many years ago, I do want to work. I did want to work, but at that time we only have some kind of like manual laboring kind of job. So like it didn't require much of creativity or intellectual thinking, stuff like that. Yeah. So the society has evolved like so much, and I think that high school students, they are now having a lot of chances to get early exposure to the society and the market. Yeah. So how about you, under your perspective? So what do you think when it first comes to your mind about the job opportunities for high school students?
Well, I think what came to mind obviously is, even though we are only like 5 years difference in age, but I think the dynamic and the qual has changed quite a bit. And like my experience with pretty much all of my friends here in Vietnam and Canada is roughly similar in a chance that they are missing out. But then I think from my experience, it's just that they've got quite a bit of talent that they did not use properly. I think my friends, even the one that didn't study international school, they would let's say they're spending their time to please university and sort of make up their resume, and then they're trying to spend their time to work on their project with their expertise on project that does not return profit, that is not serious.
Yeah. But okay, so now because you have just said about some kind of projects or your friends, so could you please give me a detailed description, explanation? So for example, what kind of project was it, and why didn't it become like a profitable kind of project. It just stopped at the concept of idea, stuff like that.
Well, I think it couple of them. First of all, it's online based, and they, you know, the concept of the project is to spread awareness about, let's say, mental health, the hot topic of today's world. And then we also knew how much potential it has, but it stops at, you know, posting Facebook status, posting articles, resources, and everything. It doesn't go beyond that, and I feel like it's quite a waste, because the way that I see a project with at least 100 students on it, and I'm pretty serious, does not involve any kind of money transactions. And when you ask them, like, my bigger problem is that when you ask them, they are going into marketing, they're going into business, they're going into School of Commerce. So my question is, why are we doing this, and why are you picking the major of making money if you don't make money?
But I just want to ask, because you have just mentioned about that project was meant to, you know, to raise the awareness of people of mental health. But that is also, you know, the first steps of everything. You know, we have like awareness, and then after the following step would be, you know, like action. So under your perspective, so what should they do in order to, you know, like to make the awareness into profitable steps? You know, it's really hard, especially like when this is about mental health. It is about some kind of a lot of, you know, like medical terms, and this field is really complicated. And do you think the high school students, they are knowledgeable enough in order to make those kind of things into, you know, like money, like what you have just said? It's really hard, because, you know, like I don't know, because when I, you know, like when you proposed this topic to me, I think I thought like high school students making money. Of course that there are some people out there they can do it, but, you know, like 90% that in Vietnam, of course, that the most high school students, they just know about study all the time, and when they, you know, like they had a chance to approach some kind of business idea or something, it's really hard for them to understand, you know, like the concept of business and the concept of, you know, like gaining profit, stuff like that. So how can we do it? Is there any solution? For example, simplify the business concept or something?
Well, obviously, we should start, let's just say there are different things: entrepreneurship or being an employee. And I'm gonna talk about being an employee after, because it's easier to start the whole business. But the way that they can do it, and first of all, they are capable of doing it. They just chose the direction not to, for one reason or another. But I strongly believe, with seeing my friends' talent, hard work, and I think I think us Vietnamese, we are very far ahead now. So like, let's say my suggestion for them, of course, it's not something that can easily be done, but it can be done with 100 people. And I'm not saying this to generate a profit. I'm saying it to generate a salary, for people to actually get paid doing work. So they can, because mental health is a very hot topic, and it's a necessary topic, they can get sponsorships, which, I mean, in my field of work, is something that we face every day, but it's difficult. It's not undoable. If they like you, if you have an agenda going forward, there'll be money over there. 2 is hosting seminar or like competition. Let's say they did host some debate competition, but the entry fee is not enough to cover all of the overheads and everything, and we feel like it's a waste, because the way that they operated, it's my experience, the way they operated is not sufficient enough for the entry fee. And if they can just generate a little bit more and then cut down on unnecessary or extra fundings, then it will happen. And I'm not saying to generate profit. It's not necessary to generate profit. It's to generate a salary, even if it's below minimum wage. It's something. I started working below minimum wage. I started volunteering, because we didn't have any skill sets at the time. So I was saying about being an employee, let's just approximate it, that I noticed around 70-75% of my circle of friends, they did work and they got money. It's around 70-75% in high school. And I think half of them are doing, it's even less now, like they're so good. I think 25% of them are doing traditional labor, like being a waiter, waitresses, cashier, all those, entry-level skills jobs. About 75% of them are doing actually related work to their field in the future. Most prominently is coding, developing apps or solution. A couple of even, like, let's say better or highly dedicated individuals, they work at an actual company because they got the skill set enough to do it. So that's the way it is. But that is being an employee. They got paid like any other people. And I mean, to be honest, if you are 22 and you graduate with a degree that is not yet useful, I'm not saying the degree is necessary, it's not yet useful. Because in order to go into a job that requires both a degree, you need experience. So you will start off with entry-level jobs that does not need that degree yet, but will give you the experience so that you can use that degree in 4 years, which is the path that we have been going for a while. But we have found a better way of doing it, kids in Canada, is that we push the process 4 years earlier, sometimes 5-6 years earlier, to not waste the best years of our life out of university doing something that we feel lost. So that is very concerning because a couple of fields in Canada, Vietnam, USA, Australia, everywhere is getting overly saturated. So we are, as kids, as much as we are pushing academically, we're pushing to get ourselves an edge in the working world, as every other youngsters are doing.
There is a conflict here. So we do agree that high schoolers or young people in general, they are really talented, full of talents, and they really need a job, right? But I think that, for example, like when I first graduated, when I found a job, it was really hard because some companies that they didn't want to hire a very young person like me, not because I didn't have enough experience at that time, but they have some kind of stereotypes about young people. I don't know how about the context in Canada, but in Vietnam there are a lot of stereotypes about Generation Z, the Z generation. For example, like job hopping and don't respect their boss, leaders, stuff like that. So that is one of the contributors. One of the reasons why a lot of companies, a lot of employers doesn't want to hire very young employees, stuff like that. So what do you think about those kind of problems in Vietnam? I'm just saying that in the context of Vietnam.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, I do understand, and I think this is a problem that we're looking at directly on a resume as well. We can see that. So first thing is age. There is a concept, I think, everywhere they value experience. It doesn't matter whether you're in Vietnam or in Canada, hiring a 37 years old always has somewhat a benefit over hiring an 18-year-old. There's no discussion. That is absolutely the fact. And that is what some company is trying to hire. But as a constraint for, I think, younger people, I don't feel like there is much more than that if you know how to work your way around it. Let's say stereotypes. Okay, stereotypes. What we are trying to break here is that we are, like, if you go to a company full of 60, 70-year-old executives as board of members, full of highly experienced people, like a lot of talented and experienced people. You're gonna be has to be some extraordinary individual to go in there.
Yeah.
And even if you go in there, there's a difference in experience, and it's noticeable. And I don't think it's particularly a good start. But if in a chance that company is trying to reform and is trying to look for young people, then absolutely go for it. But because there's, being the different figure in an environment that is exactly similar is quite an advantage. It's what they're looking for, right? We need to understand supply demand. Like what is the demand? They need to look for a different figure in the company. We can't have like old people running the office anymore. We need to put younger people in with different mindsets, because we're serving younger people as well as clients. So that is a two-way to think about it, and you as the person who's seeking it need to read the room, needs to look for what they're doing. But in my experience, the second one is to be the different figure is probably a bit more helpful. Because if you're trying to go and compete with 100 other kids that are potentially smarter than you, got more experience than you, for the same jobs that is hiring one, you're not going to have a chance at all.
Back to our discussion about the job opportunities for high schoolers. So as you have just mentioned, the high schoolers, they have full of talents, right? But the question is how can they make the most of their talents? That was the question when I asked myself when I was in high school student, because everything I did at that time was just meet the academic demands.
Should you be questioning yourself and say, what is a manageable amount of time that I'm putting in for school? Because is it, let's say for example, you spend 20 hours a week in class. 4 hours a day times 5, that's all the lectures and everything. And then how much time are you spending on homework, and how much time are you spending on revising on tests? If I spend 20 hours more a week on just studying, and if I get an average point of 5% more, is it worth it? Give yourself a good think. And I'm not saying abandon on studying, you need to do that yourself. Like how much study is enough for my goal? And then second thing is look at where you are compared to other people. Like if you're average, you want to go up or you want to stay there? And even if you go up, are you going to catch it? Step one, that's balance your time well. See where you are. Like if you should spend more hours on it, less hours on it. 2, find it. Literally find what you like. Develop. 3, look at your value. I think a good way to assess your value to a company is look at it from the point of view of the boss. Are you worth it? Like if you have a bunch of money, is this guy worth my time? Is this guy worth training? Is this guy worth hiring? Is this guy going to do work, or is going to be a liability?
Where can high schoolers find their jobs? For example, I remember when I was, many years ago, there weren't any, sources. Most of them are on Facebook groups or some kind of newspaper. But nowadays, there are a lot. So, for example, like in Vietnam, we have like websites like Whitebox, where you can find, a lot of jobs. But for high schoolers, most of them are voluntary job. And the organizations are quite prestigious to me. So for example, in your opinion, so where can high schoolers find an employment opportunity for themselves?
Well, first of all, volunteering jobs, I don't think that there are any harm in there. As when we say that because you start off so early, there's really no harm. It's just a very good pathway to lead you to somewhere. It's like, if you're volunteering, then you are waiving that wage that you're getting. But what you're getting back, are you having fun? Okay, that's good. Are you gaining work experience? That's good. Are you gaining connections and working. That's good. So is it worth the wages? Yes. Then start applying now. So where are you getting the opportunities? I think for me, I did probably the most basic method is I just show up. Like I literally cold call them. Yeah, no joke.
But where? I mean, like where? For example, like you, of course, that you need to show up, but where to show up?
So, for example, in my city, like usually there's a racetrack around your city, right? So I just show up to a race weekend, seeing the people walking around as a spectator, and then literally find the biggest team, start talking to the boss, making friends, talking to the drivers and mechanics first, and then trying to sneak my way in there. That is the most simple way. But that includes a lot of things, and I think it can be broken down to networking. It sounds really hard, but that's what people are trying to do, right? You make good friends, you crack some jokes, and then you try to get into the circle. B, getting to actual career fair. They won't notice if you're 16 or 20. They don't care. They just need people. C, use nepotism. Use your family, friends. That's mom. Yeah, like, oh, my mom is working here. Like, mom, can you just go sneakily to the HR and then see if they need any helper around here or where? Like, even if it's volunteering. And that is if the case that if you like what your mom is doing, what your dad is doing.
We should start from the teeny tiny things like that.
Yeah, absolutely, it has to.
Hey, anyway, thank you so much for your time today. So I think that it's time for us to end this conversation. Okay, so so I think that is the end of our videos today. So if you like this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And now, Tony and Tea Time with Lit Gang is out.
All English speaking of Lit Gang will be held on Bitu Group Talk feature, 100% free. To join us, download Bitu Let's Speak English app on Google Play or App Store. See ya!